When Bill Gertos scored a freed house worth almost $2 million through squatters' rights, it made world headlines. Then Mr Gertos disappeared. Reporter Steve Marshall tracked him down after a 6-month investigation. You could say he got a warm reception, but it wasn't friendly.
Oh my God, what's happening?
Mr Gertos.
Oh my God, what's happening to you? What are you doing?
Mr Gertos.
I want the judgment to be overturned, and I also want people like Bill Gertos, to face some sort of justice.
You don't need a tip. Your coffee
I didn't touch you.
Excuse me, look at that.
Look at me.
Look at that.
To me.
Meet Wild Bill Gertos.
Put that on the news, gentlemen. Channel 9 have bullies.
A controversial developer who scored a $1.7 million home for free.
That's like winning the lotto, though, isn't it?
I'm sorry, sir. It's not like winning the lotto.
Under a bizarre law that's left the deceased homeowner's family fuming.
I felt, how can this happen?
And Auntie Joyce out in the cold.
How could you not know what your family owns?
Tonight, The Current Affair investigates the incredible events at number 6 Mullaney Street.
You're getting me angry, and I'm going to have to do something I don't want to do.
Bill, do you have a conscience?
Do I have a conscience?
Yeah.
Just seems wrong, otherwise you guys wouldn't be here.
Well, you've got yourself a free
There's no
chance.
point, because you're not going to put all this on TV anyway.
Mr Gertos. Mr Gertos, Steve Marshall from A Current Affair.
Bill Gertos is used to walking swiftly through people's doors.
Mr Gertos, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Excuse me, sir, no need to do that. If you require,
Because he didn't muck about moving into this house he claims was abandoned. Gertos changed the locks, carried out some renos and rented it out. 2 decades on, a stunning court decision awarded the developer ownership of the property worth a whopping $1.7 million. While the decision made world news, Gertos disappeared until we tracked him down at a cafe. But our initial encounter was more biffo than bistro.
That's sufficient.
please don't touch the camera.
I'm not touching the camera.
Mr Gertos, you're Mr Gert.
Oh, don't push me.
Mr Gert, you've pushed into me.
Please,
Sir.
don't push me.
You've pushed into me, sir.
Don't push me, please.
You've
Look
pushed
what
into
you've
me.
done to my jacket.
You shouldn't push.
Please, sir.
Mr Gertos, your story.
Sir.
Your story.
Sir.
This isn't the catch-up we had in mind with the developer, who behind the lift doors dumps a coffee down my back.
Oh my God, what's happening?
Mr Gertos.
Oh my God, what's happening to you? What are you
Mr
doing
Gertos,
to me?
no need to.
What have you done to my jacket? Look what you've done to me.
Mr. Gertos.
Look what you did. Why did you do this?
I might have worn a lukewarm latte, but Big Bill is the one blowing up. A surprising reaction given the court ruled in his favour.
You are a bully. There is laws for being a bully.
I'm the one up against the wall here.
Mate, listen, then go away. You
Mr.
are a
Gertos.
bully.
The bullying claims are ironic, given Team Gertos visited neighbours urging them to sign legal papers supporting his ownership claim.
He said, well, my name is Bill Gertos, and I want you to know that the house across the road belongs to me. But I've never seen you in my life before. He said, but this is my house. That's what I want you to sign.
Do you go to the neighbours and ask them to sign documents saying that you're the rightful owner?
I don't recall.
Other neighbours dispute Bill's story about the state he found the house in.
Perhaps the grass had grown. You might think that, but there was someone living there. We can vouch for that.
The woman living in the house was Phyllis Grimes, who has since passed away. In an affidavit to the court, Gertos says he stumbled across the derelict property in 1992.
We know when she passed away. We know that in 1994 she was still alive and living here, and yet it was claimed originally that the house was taken over in 92.
Gertos later amended his affidavit, changing the year he took possession of the property to 1998, a few months after Mrs. Grimes died. He says he found the back door off its hinges and went inside.
Kathy, did you ever see the door off its hinges?
I have never seen the door off its hinges.
Dean, have you ever seen the door off its hinges?
No, never.
How about you?
Never.
Did you ever see the door off its hinges?
No.
No. So no one's seen the door off its hinges?
No.
Okay.
I would not lie to the court. I have no reason to lie. There's been no member of this family there for 70 years. This poor woman died by herself without any relatives to take care of her.
Mrs. Grimes died in hospital surrounded by loved ones. She had lived in the property for 60 years but never owned it. Phyllis's son says his mum was a protected tenant, paying a small amount of rent each week to a real estate agency run by these two.
Mr. and Mrs. Dendrinos. Good morning, my name's Steve Marshall from the Current Affair. I'd like to have a chat to you about Bill Gertos and the Mullaney Street property that you're managing.
How do you know who we are?
Hmm?
How do you know who we are?
Well, I'm going to be asking the questions, sir.
More about these agents and their relationship with Mr. Gertos later. First, our exclusive interview with the family which claims Bill Gertos has pinched their home.
This is the family home, and it's lost, so it's pretty devastating, actually. But I don't know when that was taken. What was that?
That's our father.
Oh, yeah.
At the age of 95, Graham's auntie Joyce is still going strong. Joyce used to live in the house with her sister, mum and her dad, Henry Downey, between 1927 and 1937. Joyce is the only surviving member of the family and had no idea her dad Henry owned the property.
It looks the same, doesn't it? As you remember it? Yeah? Oh my goodness.
Today, Joyce is visiting the street for the first time in 80 years. But this is as close as she can get to her childhood home. It's a painful time for her nephews Graham and Colin.
It's sad.
Yeah?
Because, you know, we didn't know the place existed. That's the most galling part.
Joyce's dad, Henry Downey, passed away in 1947 without a will.
We didn't know, actually, that that my grandfather owned Mullaney Street until a policeman knocked on our door. And that's the first time that I knew that Henry Thompson Downey was the registered owner of the property.
The police visit triggered an 11th hour bid by the family to block the court handing Bill Gertos their home.
They didn't know the house existed.
Well, I'm sorry. That's not my... Where does this all become my problem?
There was no way that we could have recovered this property until we found out, and now we find out, and now we've lost it.
Bill Gertos did make the family an offer. He was willing to pay them $300,000 to walk away and cover the court costs.
And I said no. I said, you know, I mean, that's our house, right?
Well, they seemed more upset with my offer than with losing the property.
You were flexible on the offer, were you?
Well, mate, yeah, I started much lower.
Oh, so you went up?
Yeah. So I was flexible, and I did wish this matter resolved. Unfortunately, they did not see it that way.
Yeah.
As it turned out, there was no bill for Bill. Remarkably, a judge handed Gertos the house in Sydney's Ashbury for free thanks to an archaic squatters' rights law. If Gertos occupied the property and paid the bills for at least 12 years, he could claim ownership through adverse possession.
Did you ever live there?
I did live at one stage for a very brief period. Not, may I say, it was not the best time of my life, but I did.
I've been living in this street for 52 years, and I don't know who this person is.
They say that your story has a few holes in it.
I'm sorry they say that. They should have told the court.
Not only has Bill Gertos scored a free house, he's also done well from years of renting it out. Property records show it was most recently advertised at $550 a week.
The rent never covered our costs. We didn't profit. There was no profit. There was no bucket of gold from renting this property.
Which brings us back to real estate agents Christine and Peter Dendrinos.
Christine, you're a managing agent. I mean, you signed off on a number of things.
Like a mafia.
This,
Christina,
the questions have to be answered here.
You're like a mafia. You come in and jump on us.
This whole affair appears to be a touchy subject for the husband and wife team. They managed the rental before and after the death of protected tenant Mrs. Grimes. And after a decade clipping the rental ticket on the house for Bill Gertos, Christine Dendrinos handed the property over to another agency in 2009. Strangely, the new agent names Henry Downey as the owner in a confirmation email to council.
You're wasting your time and wasting again.
Did you and your wife hand over the keys to Mr. Gertos?
Listen, you're getting me angry, and I'm going to have to do something I don't want to do.
Why didn't you hand over the keys
You're
to the government?
wasting your time. You're wasting your time.
Why, can you see there's something strange here, sir?
No.
This case deeply, deeply troubles me, and it should trouble every citizen in this country in relation to their family home.
Well, you've actually got the study here.
Lawyer Barbara Curry grew up in the area and has taken a keen interest in the intriguing circumstances surrounding the property.
When they were still the agent at the time of Mrs. Grimes' death, the right thing to do would have been to have contacted the New South Wales Public Trustee in relation to this property, and not to have handed it to Mr. Gertos, lock, stock and barrel.
Did you know the real estate agent beforehand?
I've answered all these questions in the court. I've answered all your questions, and you're a bully.
Look, you don't need to tip coffee over me, sir.
I did not tip coffee off you.
Yes, you
Mate, you ran into me. Look what you did to me.
Bill Gertos is no stranger to controversy. In 2015, he was fined $200,000 for illegally demolishing heritage shopfronts. But when it comes to Malini Street, Wild Bill says there's no smoking gun.
Isn't the court our authority? Does that not keep people acting in a civilised manner? That's what courts are made for.
Do you reckon do you call that civilised back there?
Even today, Auntie Joyce is unaware of a missed inheritance that could have helped her and her sister through some tough times.
It's just that my family missed out on so much. This is the family home, and it's lost. So it's pretty devastating, actually.
Your story
As for Bill Gertos, even though he got off on the wrong foot, he was soon back in his stride, perhaps all the way to the dry cleaner.
All right, Bill, I'll leave you to it. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. See you later.
And look, you can dab that off. You can dab that off.
Tit for tat. See you, mate.
The matter is back before the New South Wales Supreme Court on Wednesday.